Cool. Thank you very much for joining me today. Okay, so it's kind of funny because a little while ago you posted on LinkedIn about receiving AppsFlyer coveted award of eighth place globally for traffic sources. Um, I thought that was really cool, and ultimately that's like the first place for rewarded traffic sources, which is even better. And it's really just looking at it, it's an awesome achievement to be up there with names like Google, Meta, Unity. So I thought it would be really cool to grab you and to bring you onto the podcast and to just talk a bit about your journey and to try and understand how you've built games like GameLight into GameLight. It's quite an incredible achievement. Um, so I guess let's start with introduction for anyone who doesn't know you.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Günay. I'm founder of GameLight. I've been in this industry since quite some years, more than 10 years now, in different mobile apps, games, ad tech companies. And since last 5 years, I've been launching my own companies. I have three mobile app ad tech companies, and the last one being GameLight, which is a rewarded mobile marketing platform. And as you mentioned, we are featured on AppsFlyer Index on the recent one. It was very exciting for us too. It's the second time now since we launched 2 years ago. And it's always very exciting to check where we are listed, which geos, which verticals. And this time we're also in global across all geos verticals. So it was very exciting for us to see.
It's been amazing over the past couple of years, sort of seeing the rise, if you like. So, all right. So where did the journey start? Because you said that you've got a few different companies. So where did you start? How did you kick off your career?
Yeah. My very first career was in Azerbaijan, where I come from. I worked in insurance, reinsurance, completely unrelated to mobile ad tech games. And then I had a friend who was working in Berlin. Oh no, I skipped one part. I moved to Germany to do my master's degree here. And I had a friend who also lived in Berlin and worked in ad tech. And she was like, you have to try this. It's amazing. People are so nice. You will love it. It's much better than insurance, believe me. I was like, yeah, okay, let me try out.
I can understand
And
it.
yeah, it's more fun. It's definitely more fun and more exciting. And then from then on, it just started like one company, then other one. Then I moved from Berlin to Hamburg. I worked in Hamburg for some years. And then I launched my first app company, then another app company, and now third app company, which is also a mobile marketing company at the same time.
And have these been? Are you working with VCs? Are you self financing? Are you bootstrapping? Like how has the journey been on this?
We never had any investment. Initially, in the very first company, I tried, but unsuccessfully because it was just waste of time, and I could just focus on building the product and building what we want to do, basically, instead of trying to get investment. And as a result, none of the three companies ever had investment, including GameLight. So GameLight is fully bootstrapped, which obviously was a struggle in the beginning, but I feel like now it's actually in our benefit that we are bootstrapped in many ways. It's benefiting us right
Well, it's
now.
nice to be able to make your own decisions on on what you're doing. Certainly, I get that.
Exactly. And we're also very, very fast. Like when I see how other companies work, it takes them forever to make decisions, meetings over meetings, explaining someone, getting things approved. In our case, I can sit with my co-founder, we discuss in like 5 minutes, okay, we do this, and then we start going. So it's
Amazing.
way faster and easier, and I think we gain so much speed with this. It's crazy.
I
But
think
I think
that
that's one.
that's
Yeah,
certainly
that's
within
one.
gaming. That's certainly amazing. Being able to just make a decision and roll with it immediately is huge. Fantastic. So I guess what I'm interested in is it's kind of funny when I guess when I was at Product Madness, we always had this kind of view of rewarded traffic that was kind of those players are going to be they're only there because they're being asked to be there and they're getting something in return for being there. So as soon as whatever they're getting in return stops, they're going to stop playing, and you're not going to see the reward from that. So like I'm interested to know because obviously your your traffic is performing very very well. So how do you get to that point? How have you managed to change that kind of so you don't have the drop off, you don't have the users that have managed to claim their reward through your app and then gone away?
Yeah. I think first I will start with not our traffic, but in general with the rewarded, that partially it can be true that users get rewards, so might be that the incentive is just to get the reward, but at the same time it's not always black and white, right? There are a lot of users who would like the game if they would actually give it a chance.
Yeah.
But sometimes games are too difficult, or if it's a strategy game especially, it can take like hours to finish a tutorial to actually start liking the game. Or if any other game, basically you usually need some time in the beginning to invest so that you actually enjoy the game long term. And oftentimes users don't give this chance to games. They just open like, oh, I can't go through all of this. Like they will just close it and go try some hyper casual game maybe for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what would happen often. So in case of rewards, it actually does help users to try the game, that they push through those difficult first couple of levels, they start liking it, and then afterwards there's less need for rewards to continue playing. So usually you would also see that rewards go down over time. Like they can go higher if it's for events and so on, but in general users would need less rewards to perform within the game. Now how it happened with GameLight, with us, we do it a bit more differently too. In our case, in other reward platforms, usually they would give rewards for certain actions, certain playtime. It's kind of set, static. They define a curve.
Yeah, reach level 30 on this game or something. Yeah.
In our case, we have events and playtime rewards, but they are not defined in a static way that do this, you will get this. It's defined per user, per game, based on how they behave. So if we see that user would behave better, they would have high engagement, high retention with event rewards, they would have events. If we see it would be with playtime, they would have playtime. If we see that would be better to have half-half, they would have half-half. Or if we see that they change their behavior midway, then we would change the rewards. The reward amounts would change based on how users behave. For example, if we see that one user needs higher rewards to act better, the other one doesn't need much and they would be a good user anyways, it will be adjusted to that. So with this, we create a very custom solution that works for every single user and every single game. So there's no set rules anymore that for all games do this playtime rewards or for all users do those event rewards. It's very custom per user per game. And I think that helps quite a lot with keeping users engaged, keeping them retained, and eventually pushing the partners to us.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a really interesting way. And so that's your USP, is it? The fact that you're able to determine what each individual player or how each individual player is interacting, and being able to essentially fit in with that and make it better for them, better experience.
Yeah, that's the reason why also for us a lot of game genres work too. So not specifically one genre, but it can be casual, it can be match 3, it can be hyper casual too, it can be ad monetized, IAP, strategy, doesn't matter. Basically every type of game would work, because once you launch, the algorithm will learn and it will start learning from then on and changing the reward structure, and also changing which games we recommend to users to finally basically to create the best match between games and the users that we have. So the one thing that I kind of jumped here to the end, we were talking about reward structure, which happens post-install, but there's also before the install, we already analyze a lot of user data to know which games to recommend them, because we can see which games they are playing, how long they are playing, when they are playing, and we can see that, okay, for this user, strategy game would make most sense, but we probably shouldn't recommend them hyper casual because they don't play, they played a couple of them, they dropped off, it's not a good user for hyper casual, we probably shouldn't recommend them.
Yeah.
We find the game first that it's a good match, and then from then on we motivate them to play longer. So those two combined result in good quality.
And would you generally then stick to the same genre? Like, you know, if they're into driving games, for instance, would you then sort of keep them in the driving games or try them with other genres as well?
What is good that we don't, the data we get is not from game publishers. The data we get is from users directly. So we don't need to know basically data of every advertiser. As long as user downloads any games and plays them, we get it directly from them. They give us access to this data, which means if they have been playing racing games and yes, they launched match 3 and they're quite active, then 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we already see it without us advertising anything to them. And then based on this data, we can say, okay, maybe they actually changed their mind. Maybe they start liking something else.
I see. Okay. So that's anything outside. So it's anything installed on the device then? It's not restricted to anything that's installed through your app?
Exactly. So
okay.
we don't need To use data of advertisers for something, we simply get users give us access when they download our app because they want to get rewards.
Yeah,
to get rewards,
I
to
mean,
see what they're playing,
it
how long
makes
they're
sense.
spending.
Yeah,
Exactly. So we get
that's very cool. So in terms of being able to, yeah, so in terms of being able to find direct matches for specific genres and types of games, if you have, I mean, if you can see all of the games that the users installed on the device, it's then quite easy to be able to match that and for any new advertisers that are coming to you. So how does your so I took a look at Tester Buddy earlier. I spent some time on that and started playing with it. So are you sort of running user acquisition for your own apps as well in order to be able to grow this?
Yes. So we have our own platform, and we have many apps of our own on iOS and Android. And all the users that we deliver to our advertisers are our own users. So we don't pass anything to any third parties or to any other networks. It's directly from our own platform. To get users, we also need to user acquisition. So we actually do quite a lot of user acquisition for all of our apps, which is also helping us to understand pain of our advertisers.
Yeah, for sure.
We work with, they also work with them. And we can kind of learn from our own mistakes, from other networks, how they handle the process or how they in general work, to also learn from the process, because it's exactly the same as the other user acquisition managers have from their own companies. So we have our own UA managers, they also have the same process, and we learn quite a lot from this. And also doing UA directly for our own apps helps us get a lot of clean traffic, because we know exactly where the traffic is coming from. We have a lot of fraud protection tools, both for our own UA, and then once they start within our app, we have multiple blockers to prevent fraud for our advertisers. So eventually, once users,
yeah, because I presume when you have a financial reward of some sort, you're going to get people trying all sorts of bots and everything to be able to generate revenue quicker.
Yeah, that's quite difficult. That's also another thing what I mentioned earlier with bootstrapping, that we are quite fast with bootstrapping, making decisions. This also helps with fraud prevention quite a lot, because we notice it fast and we immediately can fix it without meetings. Like my co-founder is a developer, he's a tech co-founder, he can sit overnight, code things and prevent the fraud that was happening immediately as soon as it starts, before it gets ever big. So it's helping us quite a lot, both things.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's one of those horrible problems where you'll make one change and then the fraudsters will sort of act in a slightly different way to try and make it go through again, and it's always like cat and mouse, isn't it? Like you're always chasing. As soon as there was money to be made from committing the fraud in the first place, you're gonna get it. Like it's inevitable. Interesting. Okay, so like you've got the users. But in terms of scale, then how does that kind of fit in? If I'm coming to you from a very large gaming company saying, right, I want to be able to spend X amount with you, are you able to shift to that kind of scale of growth?
Yes, I think I can proudly say that we are one of the networks that can deliver very high volumes, very high scale. We even had a case study recently with Superplay, where we reached 500,000 daily spend with them for the Dice Dreams, Domino Dreams titles. And scaling with us is quite easy. Usually we are rather restricted with budgets than that we can't scale. That usually doesn't happen too much. And the reason is that, so first part of the algorithm that I talked about, that before the install, we already match the users. This helps us have very high conversion rates, because we find the user that's good for each game, and game that's good for each user, without wasting any impressions, without wasting clicks. So we increase the likeliness of users downloading games, because we show them the games that they would most likely enjoy playing, which means that we can get way more installs delivered to our partners with the same user pool that we have. Plus, we also acquire a lot of users. We are also one of the largest spenders in the market for UA of our own games, and we make sure that we always have new, fresh users coming in for all of our apps.
Yeah, so I'm sure.
Total, definitely scale is not a problem. We can deliver quite high scale for our partners.
But how does it, like the earlier days of this, when you got larger contracts, were you, right, we need to do a whole heap of user acquisition quite quickly to fulfill the contracts that you got coming through?
It was parallel. Okay, initially it's not a problem because we have a lot of users anyways, but once you scale, once you continue, you need more users. But at the same time, we get new partners all the time, right? So if it would be one partner, yeah, it would be a bit difficult, but one partner comes in, we have a lot of users, they download, and then the other one starts. This allows us to do even more UA because our own ARPUs grow higher because we have more partners now, more games to recommend. So it kind of grows in parallel altogether.
What's the best way of, like, if overall, if you're how do you suggest working with rewarded sources? Like, is it I guess what I'm trying to ask is it like an ongoing thing, like user acquisition? Like if you were spending with Google or Meta, you're spending X amount of budget every month, it's going straight to it. If you're going rewarded, is it almost like peaks and troughs where you should sort of ramp up spend, then drop off for a bit, then ramp up again, or is it consistent?
It depends. In our case, we quite often have that if one partner, two partners scale a lot, if they're like suddenly they're like, for example, we have $500,000 daily budget you can just spend, it will eat up from others. But it happens for a short time, because short time means like maybe a week or something, because then it allows us to scale our own UA and then we can grow everything else too. So they can be up and downs, but it's never like huge up and downs. It's more like little and for shorter terms, and then it's fine. And if partners are restricted with the budgets, if they allocate certain budgets, it's usually not a problem because we would reach those budgets, and if we can't reach, they would be cut down anyways.
Yeah.
So it's basically more stable if they work with certain budgets. But if they have apps, it can go up and down.
Do you experience, you sort of you hear a lot about creative fatigue and that kind of thing. Do you experience the same thing if you're, I don't know, for me, looking at the app now, the Tester Buddy one that I found, if I'm, it's suggested to me, so I've got essentially a brand new iPad, and I play Raid Shadow Legends an awful lot, and I've just started playing King Arthur Legends Rise, and I've got those two games on there. And so I think the first ones that were suggested to me was Star Trek Frontiers, something like that, which is a very similar type game, so it makes complete sense what you're saying. How does that, if I'm shown that Star Trek ad, or I don't know what you call them within the game, the offer, do your users get fatigue when you keep showing them the same thing? Do you end up having, if you have a large proportion of your audience that have already installed the game and played the game, are you able to bring them back into the game afterwards and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, in our case with creative, we have less creative fatigue because creatives matter a bit less in our traffic. And
I was comparing creative fatigue more to sort of keep being shown the same thing over again. So what I was getting at is every time I log in to this and I see the Star Trek offer, and I either don't hit it or hit it, will that do the users become sort of numb to these offers over time, I guess is what I'm asking.
Could be, but this is not what we do anyways, because we shuffle the games after some time, because if we see that we showed them multiple times and they're just not downloading, and it might be that they simply don't like it, we'll show them some other games. So we'll not just
show
it for a month.
Constantly cycles.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it will be changing. After some time, we might show it again. Maybe they like it now, about creatives in general, we fetch them from the store, so they might also change. So it might not be the same thing. So maybe we showed it now, they didn't like. We showed it multiple times. We might show them some other games, and maybe after a week we show Star Trek again with new creatives that we fetched from the store.
Okay.
So, changing,
and if I had have gone through and installed that Star Trek game, which I probably will do after this, I just, if I've already installed it once, do you do re-engagement as well? So if I stop playing that Star Trek game, can I then be re-engaged to it through you?
Always. So once you download any game, so first the games are on New Games tab, where we recommend new games, and once they're downloaded, they move to My Games tab, where you actually have your active games and extra challenges to do and so on, and it will always be there. Even if you delete the game and you don't want to play anymore, it will always be there. And we will send you some push notifications, some reminders. Hey, you dropped off on level X. It was exciting. Why don't you come back? Or you can earn extra rewards. So we will continuously send you push notifications or reminders or extra challenges within the game to reactivate you.
So it's an extra source of sort of notifications to the user, because presumably you also have. Do you ask the users to turn on push notifications and that kind of thing to be part of the rewards program? So, because in which case,
I mean, we don't do it for rewards. We just ask them to turn on push notifications because we can benefit from it. But in general, we have a huge advantage that it's our own app. So users are our own users. So
well, I noticed the terminology surrounding the ATT stuff was very, very good as well in terms of, you need this in order for us to be able to match you and for you to be able to get paid, essentially, which is great to begin with. But then I wondered if it was the similar kind of situation for push, because then obviously you are able to do more of the retention process for some of these games as well.
It's a good idea. Maybe we should.
Not yet.
Not yet. We are not giving rewards for push notifications, but or we are not asking them to do push notifications for using the app. But we utilize them because it's now our users. So if we have this tool, why not use it? If we can if they uninstall partner game and we still have the user, we have to maximize this, right? Like we have.
For sure.
We benefit from it too. If partners are happy, they allocate larger budgets, they increase their bids, so everyone wins.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. And do you do sort of more user analysis as well? Like, do you do? I don't know, in terms of the level of integration and the events that you get and that kind of thing, to see how the user is progressing through the game. I mean, you must get some in order to be able to connect to the payments and that sort of stuff. So do you get, because presumably you would have quite a lot of analysis across quite a few different games to be able to start showing quite clearly where users drop off and that kind of thing. So you can almost help with game retention issues and that kind of thing, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's right. So the algorithm that I mentioned, with the reward algorithm, it does analyze this. And if we see that user drops off after a certain level, it might increase the frequency of the events that we show, that users get more events and they get more rewards to just get them back, because once they're back, they will probably continue playing. It's like re-engagement without payment, so to say, from our partner side.
Yeah.
But we basically push them with the rewards, with the events in case they drop off, because the algorithm sees and then they pick up and then continue playing. This is done all by the algorithm. That's another advantage we have. So it's not account manager sitting doing something, but algorithm will itself see it and adjust itself with the rewards.
Very nice. Very nice. I can see why you're number 8 now. Hopefully that'll grow next year.
Fingers crossed.
Fantastic. Well, thank you ever so much for joining me today. It's been a really useful insights into how you function, and I think it's really exciting. Actually, I think there's an awful lot that the gaming companies can actually get from this.
Thank you, Adam. It was nice to be here too. It was really nice to chat with you. That was fun.
Thank you very much.